This conference will now be recorded.
View that thing at least once a week, see how it's going.
Yeah, oh yeah, I always have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. I think that's all we can do.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And, I talked with him and when he was, he checked everything out and he did mention, he said, when I came by, after work hours, the gate was open. The one up by G building,
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped down there today. I just parked and walked down there and found the head guy. And I just said, nice mud bath he got down here. But yeah, they just brought in a whole bunch of stone to drive over that.
In the morning, it wasn't there, so
Yeah.
I thought about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that whole thing, so wet, it was just a mud fest. So they graded it off and put down plastic, and then they brought a triaxle in with. So, but anyway, I said, yep, great, things are going here. Please do what you can to button things up when you leave at night. The one gate was open. I said,
They already started?
yeah.
Oh, wait till you
Started the,
I've heard there was a lot of activity, so we didn't do any PR.
Well, they have to.
no, it's a remediation. They gotta get,
Oh, they're doing all that first?
right, they have to do, yeah. So they pulled out a bunch of old cabinets and desks and stuff. They just have them in a pile there. And then now they're just kind of sealing off everything on the inside.
They have all the windows closed, sealed off on the outside.
Yeah.
They've got 3 big trailer boxes backed into the holes in the wall in May,
Right,
so they can just load stuff
Load
immediately
stuff in
without
there.
leakage.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do the whole outside and the roof and so on.
yeah.
So they load the contaminated stuff in there, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Everything's contaminated in there.
Right. At this point, you're really not gonna separate much that's not contaminated.
Right.
But, you give us some warning when you're gonna take that chimney down. I got a lot of people that wanna watch that.
Right, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so
Right.
they will, they're aware of that.
Yeah.
The mass development is on top of that also.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a schedule of approximately when. And Steve Williams and everybody wants to know so we can prepare for it,
Right,
and even the police if necessary.
yeah.
There's probably no plywood, spare plywood being generated.
I talked to him. I told him, I said, I don't know if anyone has approached you on this. If not, oh well. But usually when we have buildings torn down, we try to grab a dozen sheets of plywood to keep boarding up the other ones. I said, so if you can put a stack of them aside, we'd appreciate it. Just left it at that.
Good.
I came through there, I don't know, a week ago, and as it turns out, it was Kendall's last day.
Replacement?
Oh, yeah?
No, last
Is he retiring or?
Yeah, he's gone. He's in
He
Tampa.
retired?
Tampa or Naples?
Yeah,
Lucky dog.
whatever down there. So he was there with the people doing the pressure reducing valve. So I just kind of butted my head in there for a few minutes, and then I shook his hand and thanked him for
All his service.
his guidance. And you all come back now, you hear?
Okay, so anything else on security?
Not at this point. He's got some work to do, but he's got it all mapped out, and yeah, he might need some of that plywood, which we'll see. So let me know.
All right, development status. We have a report. Did anybody get a chance to see this already?
I did not.
Okay, I got copies for everybody. This came from Richard Kingston. So as you can see, but I'll read it for the record. I hope I sent it to you, Bob, but I'm not sure I did. It would have been like 10 minutes before the meeting. But I'm gonna read it anyway because we're live and on the air. The electric vault, which is part of the completing the electric system on Carriage Drive, they had some changes in engineering for that they're working through. And it's just a matter of changing the vault.
Well, this is a whole, this is
Oh, that's
a
my
Parcel
agenda.
D.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're so good at finding.
We just like to see that perplexed look on your face.
Sure,
You couldn't follow
the
along.
only girl in the group, you like to pick on me.
Hey, Carter.
Okay, it does impact the road, that Grissom wants us an exit from their side, but that shouldn't be major. The power plant, we talked about it a lot. American Environmental is really moving right along. The abatement portion. The subcontractor, Soini, will install erosion controls Kirk reported on. Sarah Fortune for the Concom has been notified as well. She's gonna do an inspection of the conservation measures that they're taking.
Every Wednesday.
Yeah. Ty and Bond Inspector will be on site Monday, this week Thursday, but back Mondays. Gomes Construction will give us a schedule when they will be on site to locate the electric conduit stub, probably by Wednesday. We all met last Thursday on site to review the electric vault layout. That was National Grid, Gomes, and Mass Development. Gomes confirmed that they have the concrete vault and manhole frame and cover at their shop and the conduits. They're putting together the construction schedules early this week, and it should be installed late March or early April. So that's good progress because it adds another incentive to businesses to join our effort.
Well, that's needed before they could pull the wires through, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Which they will then do. The pressure relief valve vault, the submittal was approved, the contractor sent over the plans to the manufacturer. They don't have a delivery date, typically 8 to 10 weeks. And electric service was reviewed by National Grid. The Belchertown Water District will sign final electric agreement with National Grid. And because it's a municipality, there's no charge for the National Grid to bring that over. And finally, our biggest effort, Brissa. No change from last month, which is again disappointing. And there was some rumbling at this morning's meeting, which was about Parcel D, which we'll get into in detail. Some rumblings this morning about the finance environment generally in the country, affecting projects all over the country.
What is it?
And,
What a shock.
well,
We got a lot?
that's what he wanted to do, so he's doing it.
Sure.
And
What?
it said it's what he wanted to do.
Who?
Fearless leader. Those cuts that are in Washington are affecting these programs.
Oh.
That's
the
why they,
tax credits, yeah.
yeah, that's why we're
Captain
talking.
Chaos.
That's why Mass Development is talking about it, because they handle a lot of that grant money that comes in from the federal government for paying for a lot of projects like
It's
this.
only just begun.
Well, so they not sure what the impact is gonna be yet, but they did talk about a lot of what they're doing is federal funding. So, we're gonna all have to wrestle with that stuff because, I mean, I know the school department is, if it loses its federal funds, that's 15% or more. I don't even know what percentage of the state's contribution is also federal funds, some of us. So, but that's aside. Okay, so
Nothing
that's,
on our broker?
Pardon?
Nothing about our broker?
As far as I know, our broker hasn't started work for us. And so
No.
it's not doing us any good, is it?
Checked one.
Anyway.
I find it interesting that your picture on the screen has the background that Bob should have.
Yeah,
It doesn't look like that anymore out there in San Diego. It's all condos now.
I know, huh?
Marie and I used to swim on the beach like that on the other side of the world. It was gorgeous. We went back a few years ago.
All built up?
We cried, literally. We cried.
Yeah. Where is that picture?
And that picture?
Yeah.
No idea.
It's just
It's
a
right here. Right here.
Right,
Did you
yeah.
see it? It's in my head. All right, moving right along. Sorry.
DD.
Oh, we have an agenda. No, that's not an agenda.
That was the meeting about Parcel D or something?
Parcel D, update on Parcel D. Parcel D meeting was great this morning.
Yes, it was.
And everybody who was there thought it was very good. A bunch of maps were distributed, and Kirk's gonna lead us on,
Okay,
Project Manager Kirk.
I'll stumble along with it. Yeah, so we had a good meeting with Ty and Bond. I'm terrible with names. You got the names around here someplace? Anyway, two gentlemen from Ty and Bond, and sit on here. That's powerful.
Well,
Different guys. Anyway, so they had put together everything that they had, studied with all the drillings, the borings to get depth of ledge and such, and mapped out all the wetlands. Got the survey all nailed down, including the 10 acres that we are acquiring from the town.
That's included in this?
Yeah,
it's just.
it's right there, towards you. Yeah, that one there, that's the 10 acres.
That's correct.
Lot C, kind of?
Well, it's not
It's
delineated
better
down
on
there.
there,
Yeah,
and then over here it fills in this block square.
So they can get that many lots in that, huh?
well, now we have two, okay, is that the,
There's another one.
yeah, and what they,
That's elevation map.
Right.
There's two different ones, okay.
right, there's, basically at this point, we have two options. And, the roadway, if we scoot it down the middle, we could do on either side, like a standard subdivision. But it really makes them small lots. And potential users for this are going to want to have room to move. They're going to be storing machinery there, moving trailers in and out.
So this one looks like you got bigger lots this way, yeah?
Because there are fewer, yes.
Cause,
No,
well, cause if you do the road in the middle, you got 1.81, 1.66.
Right.
There you go, oh, they're smaller except for like lot 10 or something.
well, by having the road swing to, that's the west, correct? Yeah, having it swing to the west of the property, it puts all the development, except for one, on the east until you get down to the end, and then you can do a little bit more. But in doing that, I think that's gonna be our best product as far as what people are looking for lots there. And
This one you mean?
right.
So what happens to lot A? Is that actually a lot or that's just?
No, you see, because of the
The color map.
because of that, we're quite limited to the middle of the
So that's
parcel.
mostly wetlands.
Right.
Lot A is, this section in here, I think. You're looking at, what part are you looking at, Ben?
Lot A.
That's the big wetland.
Right,
We're
so
not
that says
building.
lot A,
Right,
that's that.
That's nothing.
there'll be accessory lots is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Conservation area.
Right, we're quite limited with slope down to the wetlands.
The darker the red, the steeper the slope
Right,
on this and that map.
and that is abutting the residential development that backs up to it over there. So it's just as well that those two triangles there,
That's 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those two triangles that are right in front of you there, there and over there. Yeah. This and this,
Yeah,
okay? See, this one right here is the closest house.
right,
But fortunately, this is all steep slope and we can't use it anyway.
okay. So
So-
they have it as a lot, but you really can't
Well,
use it.
Yeah,
Slope angles are
it's
what's
gray. What's gray is,
18%.
What does that mean?
That means it's too slow to build on without significant
Would
excavation.
be expensive.
It would be more expensive.
right.
Depends on what the soil condition is.
So like this area here,
Yeah,
which is this area here,
yeah.
there won't be anything built there.
Which
Which is gonna be
for
good
the
because
neighbors.
that's the closest house.
Sure,
So it'll give a pretty good buffer right there,
yeah,
just in distance.
right,
And like they pointed out, they said by having the road that goes along the west side and built out on the east side,
yeah,
the buildings and activity is furthest away from this development.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite a ways to begin with, but down in front, not so much. But in here, by having the road on that side, they're, and these, they basically chopped them up a
but
lot
someone,
closer.
someone could take both of them,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Exactly.
I brought that up.
Like these two and these two if they
Right.
want
They-
more,
they were
right?
just
It's not
basic-
like, yeah.
Right.
we're
They
stuck
were
with it.
basically like, okay, well, let's see how many we can get on here.
Sure,
But because of what we're trying to bring in there, there's going to be a lot of double
More
lots.
industrial.
Why don't you open up the bigger maps of buildings?
so you said people want more, like they're gonna need places for trucks
We
and
can work on
everything,
that.
right?
Yeah, they just went with sort of the basic stuff.
Sure,
And they put this cul-de-sac here without fully thinking about what the select board is gonna do, which is lay a road out as far as you need.
okay,
So there's actually more area that can be developed, but not all of the area. Yeah,
So this is the one that at this point we felt was preferable, which is that one that you got right there. Yeah.
Okay.
This is that the road would basically be coming in where the entrance is now. It would allow for a small triangular shaped lot to the right of that, but then everything else is to the left of it, to the east of it.
okay,
There's a vernal pool
Yeah.
in here, and that's also going to be utilized, I'm sure, as some kind of a drainage. This for sure will have
seasonal in the spring.
right.
like a pond almost.
Almost, yeah,
Yeah.
it regularly,
You have one now,
Very sensitive, very sensitive area.
yeah, so when you get melt, when you get the ice coming
But
out.
I mean, there's nothing that's it's steep slope,
It
whatever.
stays kind of muddy,
Okay,
but not necessarily full of water, which would make it.
But like they put down here, these hash mark areas are potential areas, catch basins, so that it gradually drains down to the stream.
So again, Bill, they just used what they believed were the town limitations around numbers of lots and length of the road and so on. And this morning, Kirk and Doug explained that in fact, this can come much further into here.
Well, it can, but at that point, it's
Well, that's
almost like, one here, one here. So those could be just accessed by driveways. Because they pointed out, they said, well, if we're going 2,000 feet of road, that's $2 million. So this is 1,800, which is 1.8, but nevertheless, they're going to play around with
There's
this.
more utilizable land out here that they didn't build on there, but whether it's by driveway or extended road, it's still something that can be added to the project.
Absolutely, yeah. And like we were talking about, some of these, these are pretty good sized lots on the curve here. There's quite a bit of land up on top, but you start getting down to here and it gets smaller. This they said, well, we should probably leave that out for the catch basin here for conservation.
Retention.
Yeah, retention pond. But you get into these and they're smaller lots, which, I'm sure there's some, that'll be fine, landscaper or something like that doesn't have a lot of.
They're small.
Yeah.
What are some of the sizes you got there?
It's not, most of them are at least an acre.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
Just under an acre, most of them, so.
We also discussed it's not likely that it's gonna be any retail kind of business going back in there because of
Right.
the location. You're just not gonna have.
Right. I mean, if there was anything, it would be up front,
Right.
because that's got frontage
So
on
it could be service businesses, it could be,
They build
Landscapers.
stuff,
Yeah.
wood, I don't
Right.
know.
anyway. So there was a good acceptance on the part of people there.
Yeah.
Some of the questions that were raised had to do.
So who was there? Some people from the town?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a public hearing, no. It was just,
It was a-
just sort of informational session?
Correct. I
Okay.
did post it
Yeah,
as a EDIC,
Workshop.
progress review.
Okay,
And what it was, just in case we had more.
so the overall reception
Right.
of it
But we
was
had,
good, or?
We had Kevin Williams, Water Department,
Oh.
and Roland DeWitt, Sewer Department. Those two being very critical as to, okay, what do we get to do for the water and sewer here?
Right. Doug was also there.
And Doug Albertson, yeah,
Steve
exactly.
Williams couldn't make it.
Right, Steve wouldn't make it, he was going to. And Linda Ledoux from the DPW is on vacation this week. But I'll stop in next week with these maps and we can show what we talked about and get her opinion on if there's anything that we should.
So outside of town employees, were there people there that were potentially interested, or just,
No, not at this point.
no? So this was just.
I had reached out to one with that had his number and shot him a text
Oh,
message.
So no one from the town was just there to see what was going on, it was mostly
Correct.
just you guys
Not at
guys
this
in
point,
town?
no.
Although it was open. but
It was open, but no.
It was open,
Okay, I
but
thought
9
you
to
said-
11
I thought you said people were.
Hard for people to get to.
Yeah.
anyway.
So, they're still looking for input from the Concom and from DPW head and Steve Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not gonna move this forward until those folks have a chance to understand what's happening.
Right.
You'll probably have to meet with a couple of them. Now, Amanda did provide, Newmiller is her name?
New Miller.
Yeah. Amanda Newmiller is the grant coordinator for this kind of grant from Mass Development. So she sent a link this afternoon to me, which I sent to all of you, including you, Bob, where you can go online and see all of these things on your computer. It's like a posting kind of
I
thing.
did see that.
Yeah, and so you can use that with the people you're gonna talk to about it.
Mm-hmm.
I sent it to Steve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very valuable.
Jonathan?
I haven't looked at it. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I tried to open that link and it said that I wasn't permitted in some way. So I think you have to somehow enter my email in permitted access or something so that I can take a look at that. I didn't see it.
Okay, I'll send that message tonight back to Amanda, because she set it up, she probably has to give permission. Because I'm probably in the same boat you are, yeah.
Yeah, I sent you an email to that effect.
Okay, thanks. So, we need to collect any thoughts or ideas here that, in terms of reaction. But let's start with more questions that you might have, right?
Right. And like I said, it was very important for Kevin Williams and Roland DeWitt to be there, so that we could,
Did you try putting in your email?
I think it should be here, sorry, go.
so that we could,
was shared.
go into this with our eyes wide open as to how we're gonna, as far as I'm concerned, that's our biggest stumbling block is, okay, you get water in anywhere, that's not an issue, but getting rid of it. And where, because years and years ago, we got the hollow promise from Bob Bolduc that he'd build a pumping station there, which never happened. Now
Well, there's a private pumping station over there.
Yeah.
But that's his.
Bolduc doesn't know right
Right.
now.
Huh? That's what they said this morning. I don't know.
I didn't know that there was a pumping station.
I don't know
Hmm.
about all of those things.
Right,
But somebody said that, maybe it was Roland or Kevin.
Roland would be the man.
oh, yeah,
Somebody said there's a private pumping station there, and somebody else questioned whether we could buy into it or buy it, and that just sort of passed away
okay,
in the conversation. So I don't know.
Yep.
But the challenge is sewage. And there's a 2-inch main, and the 4-inch force main is tied into that pumping station. And it depends on what kind of businesses go in, but it's likely not gonna be adequate. And then, of course, there's no water there. So, and the water department is about maxed out. Certainly, if the Brissa project is full, it'll be maxed out,
right,
Town-wise.
town-wise. But, I have been sort of tickling the water department about how good an aquifer this is. And they are interested.
yeah,
And Claire O'Neill and Kevin had a little whispering session with each other. Claire wants to,
Claire was there?
Claire O'Neill came today.
yeah, Claire was there, yeah,
How was she?
She looks great.
yeah,
Yeah.
Had a great time, but she wanted to come out and see the progress we made.
Oh, I miss her.
Yeah.
you do,
Anyway, she has some ideas about that and set a note to work with Kevin to see what might be possible. She wasn't promising funding, but she's got a good ear for where there might be some sources.
mm-hmm,
And Kevin is now interested in this as a possibility. If we're gonna do what he and Roland both wanna get those utilities in before we put the road in, which makes a lot of sense, right?
mm-hmm,
Digging up a road. But these are the two big questions. The rest doesn't seem to be. Doug had no issues at all with the plans and the layout.
mm-hmm,
And he said you don't even have to do a subdivision plan. You just do A&R along a town laid out road,
mm-hmm,
which would be the way to go. The Board of Selectmen laying out the road in there. And they can lay it out any length. So this is really feasible, but we don't know price yet, the cost of that. We don't know the cost of the development of the utilities.
I mean, there are figures that they're throwing out, it's basically,
I mean, the road,
$2 million for
the road
a 2,000-foot road.
with the utilities, but there's still no water. The whole issue.
No, that's,
No, that's with the pipes,
yeah,
not the water in the
Okay.
pipes. And not with the sewage going down.
right,
So those are other related tangential issues that still have to be figured out
mm-hmm,
in order for this to work. So, it's possible, but the departments are stretched thin now for budgets, and it would have to be money that would come from, some of the state and there are grants for that.
mm-hmm,
And that's what Claire got interested in talking to Kevin about further. It was nice to see Claire go into action.
yeah,
Good operator. So, but otherwise, everybody felt very good about the way it looks. Ty and Bond, they're going back to do some more calculations. On the subsurface, they did not hit ledge. They hit boulders and, cobbles. And they just sort of set the drill over and were able to go down.
Where was that?
When they did the test,
well,
Oh, okay.
fully expected on this side,
but they didn't.
it ledge.
They didn't hit ledge, and they went down up to 20 feet in the holes. They
Wow.
did not go more than that.
Yeah.
Was it 20 or 20? I wrote it down.
which also points out
They went to
that,
20 feet.
that some of
Or
these
you go for a
areas,
Foundation.
Right, which is why they
Would
stopped
you
at
go
20.
deeper than that?
No.
No, you wouldn't.
No, you went in the hillside if you were building into a
You
hillside.
were, yeah.
right, but it also, you know, means that some of these areas that might be steep can be dug, can be leveled out and used,
Right,
or
built into.
more than what it looks like on the map.
And there's also lots of construction that gets built into it though.
Right.
Where the back end is at grade and the front end is at road level.
Right.
So there are possibilities there, but it makes it a better aquifer as well. So that was good news. So what are you thinking, Uncle Bill?
I'm just saying that, we ought to identify what it's gonna take to make these saleable.
Yeah.
And then work on that, because,
Yeah.
Kirk, you had some interested parties way back when,
Yeah.
now the rubber's hitting the road.
Exactly, yeah. And I had sent Jason a text about that we were meeting, but I didn't hear back from him. But he's usually the conduit for other people that are in the same market. So we'll see. I mean, we got, I brought up the options of, well, obviously we can drill a well or two if we, if you don't want to tax the already thin water supply, and then as far as the septic, well, the whole thing's gravel. So if push comes to shove, we could have a few septic systems that they drain into.
Depends on what kind of business.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing too.
So
I don't see a whole lot of water usage except for maybe washing vehicles or something like that.
right. Well, we don't know. We don't know what being there.
And there again,
Service companies like ServPro, for example,
that's what I was.
they do a lot of washing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I kind of turned to Doug and didn't really get a firm response, but it was kind of like, well, can we restrict people buying it that would use more water than, I don't know. I've not encountered that before.
Water use, no, I don't know that you could. That's
So if
interesting.
people
Yeah, you
buying it could dig a well though, if they wanted to, right?
Right,
Right.
but
Like
Are they gonna be on town water here?
that was,
Well, that's the option.
that's the thing with Kevin Williams. That's the town water district.
Okay.
But this is sufficient gravel. I mean, he's thinking of putting a town well in this gravel. Because it's.
Right. He's thinking of coming back, because this is all town land back here. So we could possibly just have a driveway coming off the cul-de-sac to access his fields there.
So it could be a major source for the town.
If we did something like that, then we could possibly tie in with the funding for that
Correct.
to help with the cost of the road.
So another question would be,
Where does the water come from for town water?
there are several wells, some up
Well, it
on
comes
The
from
Daigle
wells.
well,
Daigle wells up
It's
in the
not
end of
from a
Federal Street.
reservoir anywhere?
No, we never got that. The
no,
town didn't want to do that. Our town
Wilbraham.
water department,
Wilbraham and Chicopee.
our water department started out as a private business owned by the elders of town.
Wow.
Gary Brown's family and others were owners of it. It's now part of the town,
Okay,
town municipality, but it started out private.
so it's town wells. I didn't know that.
There's one that's down on Jensen.
Yeah. And also there's a pump down on Bay Road just below the railroad tracks.
Right. Oh, I think that's a relay or
Is
something
it?
like that.
It's not a well.
No, that's sewage, isn't it? Because
Is it a pump?
they built. Remember, they had the Lake Association.
Oh, that's right.
They
No,
ended up
that's
going.
been in- That's been in there longer than the Lake Association.
Yeah.
That's been there as long as I've been in town.
Yeah,
Anyway, so there's a couple of those things, and there's a couple of storage tanks. One big one up behind my house, off Allen Road.
Okay, so that's
And
for
then
town
one up in
water.
the middle of town. We just
Water,
rebuilt that one.
well.
So I'm thinking about Bill's comment here about to make them saleable, which is really our most important objective. So I would like to ask.
So the developer needs to put in the road, correct?
Yes, but I would like to.
Hey,
I'm a member of the public.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, talking about this morning.
Yeah.
I'd like to find out when it would be appropriate to show this to some prospective buyers to get their feedback. I really was hoping some might show up today to ask questions.
Right.
But just to get an idea of the kinds of concerns they might have with the kinds of businesses they might be bringing to it. That would be interesting for us in terms of maybe some of the layout choices that we've been looking at. So we talked about the water and sewer as being the most urgent things to solve for this.
Yeah. And I mentioned that, or sent a note to Steve thinking that, maybe we could, this round of one-stop grants, apply for something to that effect. And of course, you gotta have actual numbers to put in there, and we don't have those. So I guess we need more of an application for an engineering study before we can do construction.
Claire O'Neill had a conversation with Kevin about that
Yeah,
this morning.
yeah, Kevin's probably the guy to talk to.
Yeah.
Because they give us those numbers.
what's your gut feeling on the sewage system or sewage predicament that we have here in relation to what the town has nearby for infrastructure that we could possibly tie into?
I think it's important to bring sewer down there for this and then for Bolduc's property. Those are both prime sites for the town, and it would be nice to have that available.
Do you think, are we looking at a pumping station there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Well, I think way back when we talked with Bolduc, it was under 300,000, so now it's probably.
Probably a couple million.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You put a sheriff on it?
It'd also be higher capacity too.
Yeah, it would be.
Where does the school's sewage go?
I think down Stadler Street. And then it
We didn't
goes,
talk about that this morning as a route.
no, we didn't. Yeah, I think it goes down Stadler Street and then across behind Howard Street and out that way, I think.
What about the one that comes across the fields where the path, the new path is there that, that goes along the sewage, along,
The Sensory Trail.
yeah, thank you. Where does that go?
Don't know. The town's GIS, there is a layer that shows the sewer. If you ever go on to that.
'Cause that looks like it would head towards the middle school. Wouldn't it come in back of the police station? Because,
I don't know where it
or
goes.
does it just jog into
Oh, there's
campus?
one that goes between Tadgel and Christopher Heights.
That's probably the
And
one.
then I think it curves out that way.
Well, this is work to be done, so. And, okay. So no further questions or suggestions or challenges or, I've got two.
What's your, how did you feel coming out of this thing? That we had something to talk about or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's credible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They didn't seem to, they seemed hesitant to do much on their proposals there, looking at, kind of a dark area, like, I don't know.
Well, they were trying to keep to the 18 or 1,200 feet. And they don't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it seemed as though they were, just coming down to here, that, I mean, if there's a wetland
Yeah.
there, it seemed like if you just divided and had one here, one there.
Yeah, you could do that, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could just extend your little street up to there or something like that.
yeah,
Or, or you just want to have lots that are big enough for somebody who wants to have a bigger parcel, that's all.
right,
Or just, as we talked about this morning, don't really have the lots, have suggested lots,
right.
and then people can make their own.
It's another reason to get,
So different
some
stuff.
of the potential
That's
buyers
the
and
two-sided, that's the one
early
sided.
to get an understanding.
Yeah, this is the one we
Space
probably.
they want.
Yeah, you can figure lots out.
Yeah,
All kinds of business.
but it's funny, I mean, doesn't look like it's bigger lots,
Yeah.
but it is. Yeah, I think this would be, I mean, if we were able to fill all of those or even 2/3 of them, I would be a happy camper.
Mhm.
But of course, then there's the money thing. Where's the money gonna come from? But,
Like a new print shop.
anyway, Jonathan had a nice discussion afterwards with Claire and gave us some hope.
Every discussion I've ever had with Claire has been nice, yes.
Yeah, I know.
All right,
All right, moving on.
good. Nice work, Kirk.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
A lot of work.
Boy, Kirk.
we're getting there.
All right, let's see what else we got on the agenda.
Here, why don't you take these? I'll take the big guys. You can keep those
That's good.
for posterity or something.
Does Bill have a complete set there? Does Bill have a complete set?
I think so.
Three white ones and one color. We got the big color.
Mhm.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out how to get us, and then we'll send a link to these maps.
Yeah,
You can
Yeah.
have-
Yeah, I put in her email and it still didn't work, so.
Yeah. Let's just try it. I'll mention to Amanda tomorrow. She has to insert our emails. Start with it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's nothing else to talk about.
I went online for that. Remember we got this letter from the Department of Energy about zero carriage drive in Belchertown?
Tell us about it.
So it's part of the large building energy reporting, and now it's driving clean energy and offshore wind created, which requires the disclosure of energy use data for buildings over 20,000 square feet starting in 2025. So they sent us saying that the building at Zero Carriage Drive was over 20,000 square feet. None of us knew what they're talking about. So I basically went online. They have this big long list. You go to your one and you fill out questions. And I just put vacant land and it says, do you have any deliveries of any type of energy? And I said, no. I don't know what else to do. There's no, we don't know what they're talking about, so there's no
Yeah,
building, so hopefully that satisfies.
That is zero?
It says Zero Carriage Drive, but
No.
it's saying it's a 20,000 square foot building, but.
That, it's more than 20,000. That's the minimum for this report. That
Right.
in the power plant.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's,
But it's gone.
it's going.
Consider it
Going.
gone, yeah.
Well, we're just not really sure what the
Yeah,
building they're talking about, but none of
Regardless.
them are getting energy deliveries.
Yeah,
food
that's for sure,
deliveries, so
Exactly, the answer would have been zero anyway.
I guess what they're maybe looking for is
Yeah.
potential spills, I don't know. Cause they asked if you get any deliveries of fuel
Hmm.
at the building and, or use I just know for everything, so we'll see what happens. I put your phone number, no.
Thank you. But I would have had fun with you. See,
I don't know,
I
call
would have
this
said
guy.
that the massive power plant, we have reduced any energy consumption through all of our efforts of energy
There wasn't the
saving.
space for that.
I would, yeah, and so we are using zero external energy.
Yes,
All right,
so that's all I,
thanks, Beth.
that's fun.
All right, anything else before, we thought we would go to executive session. We have a couple of potential members to discuss.
Are you booting me out?
No,
No.
because you are an active participant in all our meetings.
Okay.
You may stay, or that's your decision. So, Bob, anything from you in members' time? No?
No, nothing. I'm good.
Thank you. You are good. Bill?
All set?
Kurt?
All set.
Nothing from me? Doug, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, then, we will adjourn this session and, again, the board now, I need a motion to move to executive session.
Motion to move to executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we've already declared under the aegis which we are doing this. So we have to take a roll call vote. Kurt?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Jonathan, yes? Bob? Yes? Bill?
Yes.
I saw it now.
We're in executive session.
That was yes.
Yes. I saw your lips
Do you have
move
to
down.
stop recording or
If
something?
your beard gets any longer, I won't be able to do that.
We don't have to go to a new link, you just have to stop
I have a
recording.
new link. You have a link. I sent, do you have the link? Do you have the link, Bob? I sent you an email with the link for
Okay.
executive session. So we're gonna close this session.
Who's B?
7:56.
You do have it, Bob?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we're gonna close this session and go to the new link.
This
Come back,
conference is no
Bob.
longer being recorded.